Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to the Balance and Thrive podcast series. Today, we're going to be looking at strategies and ways that you can actually heal your gut without having to worry about food or probiotics or prebiotics or a cleanse or a parasite purge, which is the usual thing that everyone tends to be talking about. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of information about me. If you don't know me, or it's the first time you're actually joining the lives, then I'm Faria. And I'm a certified health, wellness, and nutrition coach. I have a special interest in reversing insulin resistance using quantum and circadian principles. I focus on helping women achieve optimal health by getting their insulin under control. I've successfully helped women lose weight, gain more energy, balance their hormones, improve gut health, improve fertility, improve blood glucose responses, but just to name a few, without supplementations or calorie counting or portion restrictions or any intense workouts, all through my one-to-one and group coaching programs. And just a little disclaimer before we start, the information that is provided to you today is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose or cure. If you have a serious medical concern, please reach out to a qualified practitioner. Okay, so in the last, I'll probably say around the 20 to 30 years, maybe a little bit more, gut health understanding and awareness has just skyrocketed. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But what is it that we usually tend to hear about the gut? So some of the things you may have heard, and maybe you'd want to share them in the chat, like what have you heard about the gut? The common ones are the things like there's that whole gut-brain connection. It is your second brain. Your digestive tract produces 90% of serotonin, 50% of dopamine, and all of these are also related to mood. If you have poor gut health, you're likely to have poor mental health. You may have heard about the vagus nerve being directly linked from your brain to your gut, and how those signals that are sent one way also go the other way, and they affect things like stress, digestion, and emotional balance. You may have heard about things like chronic anxiety and how mainly all mental health conditions stem from gut imbalances. Those disrupt things like your neurotransmitter productions. They amplify stress signals. Okay. Maybe you've even heard about how digestive issues like IBS, bloating, indigestion, that they don't just hurt your stomach, that they can also alter your brain chemistry. Research has recently shown gut health impacts decision making and even intuition. Right? You may have heard the famous thing like trust your gut, go with your gut feeling, that kind of thing. So there's this whole connection about healing your gut, and you'll also heal your mind. A big thing that people also tend to talk about lately has been things like probiotics and prebiotics, and the whole idea of related to the gut microbiome and how important it is to have a diverse gut
Oh no.
enzymes.
Hello,
If you've just entered the room, please mute your mic. Sorry. So you may have heard about, the importance of the gut microbiome, how we have to have a good balance of the good and bad bacteria, and all the many ways that you can do it, right? One of them, namely, being things like fermented foods, right? Very, very popular nowadays. Your sauerkraut, your kimchi, your kefirs. And these are the things that everyone seems to be talking about these days, right? And it is fairly new in the sense, if you think about when you were growing up, did you even know about these things, right? Were they about? I don't recall my parents, my mom ever mentioning anything like this. I mean, as the best fermented thing that we probably ever had was something like plain yogurt, right? We just hadn't heard of these things. Now it's obviously a big booming industry, right? And another way that you also hear like the common gut experts when they talk about gut health, what is their standard advice? They say eat the rainbow, eat more plants, go plant-based, increase your fiber, have more fruits or vegetables or whole grains, drink more water. So, what's wrong with that advice? Can anyone actually see a problem here? Because it doesn't seem as though anyone's actually questioning that this should be the way to heal our gut. Now, don't get me wrong, food has a weighting. Yeah, I believe it does have an element in there, right? But all this advice, the large majority of it is based on food. There's nothing that we've been told in terms of our day-to-day lifestyle, in terms of our habits, as to what we can do to actually heal our gut. And the thing that you have to understand is, if you just stick to a food-based option for healing, you're always going to come back with issues because you haven't addressed the root cause. You haven't addressed the habits that got you there in the first place, right? It's almost like saying, you're going to put, say, for example, you own a Ferrari, and we are obviously way more valuable than any Ferrari or Lamborghini out there, right? And that engine is messed up for whatever reason, right? Something in the engine is off. That Ferrari and Lamborghini need premium petrol, right? Premium gas in them, right? If that engine is off, it doesn't even really matter whether you're going to put that premium gas in it or not. And if you do put it, if the engine isn't working, it's not going to give you the optimal result anyway, right? It's the same with us, right? If we haven't actually addressed the root situation, if we haven't gone back to like what's up with our engines, also known as your mitochondria, if you haven't addressed those things, then all of these gut healing protocols are not going to give you the results that you're actually seeking long term. So this is why I always go on about lifestyle changes, because when you make lifestyle changes, you are actually starting to heal from within, right? It's not just a topical, what's on your plate kind of thing. Okay, and in bi'idhnillah ta'ala, if you take that approach, those issues won't keep coming back. The issues that you're facing in terms of your health. This is one thing that you have to understand, right? So all of this advice that is related to food is going to obviously just bring you back to square one at some point. Okay, it's a no-brainer. You're going to end up in that situation again if you haven't addressed the root cause. Okay, because you're not deficient of any food, you're not deficient of any supplement, right? This is the thing that you have to understand. Most of us, the deficiencies come because of the lack of the internal system being able to cope with whatever it is that you've done over the years, right? And it's got to a point of being so denatured and so dysfunctional that we can't just use food and supplements, right? That isn't the way that we are designed to heal. So how big of a problem are gut issues? in the UK and amongst us today? Like, is it something that we should actually be worried about? Well, it's important to understand that if you have any issue related from the mouth, right, which is obviously the entry point of the gut, to the rectum, which is the exit point, right, any point from there to there would have to be addressed if you have any kind of digestive issues, okay, because you have to look at the whole tract, okay. Now, in the UK, 86% of all British adults have voiced concerns about suffering from some form of GI, gastrointestinal problem or ailment in the last year. And this study was done, I think, 2016 or 2017. I would imagine that those numbers are quite a lot higher now. While GI problems are a common occurrence across the country, it seems that the nation's women are suffering the brunt of them. Okay, so overall, almost 9 out of 10 women have experienced some kind of GI ailment compared to men. So it's a big thing. It does really affect us. And there's a number of reasons for that. But the thing to note is that the majority of the time, it's women who tend to have these gut issues. Now, after listening to about 10 hours worth of expert information regarding gut health, worldwide experts, the leading scientists in gut research and all this kind of stuff, I was extremely disappointed with the fact that none of them mention the impact of light on the gut. The number one gut killer, as they mention, is stress, okay? Now, stress is problematic, but I believe that your connection to light is more so of a problem. If there was ever a tool where you could actually heal your gut without any supplements, without doing any gut cleanses, without doing any kind of parasite purges, then it would be using circadian principles and honoring the cycles of light and dark. Now, why is this the case? Well, all of our organs have a circadian clock in front of them. So they are all impacted in one way or another by light, whether that light is natural or whether it is artificial. It is going to impact your body. Our gut is actually designed to create a new lining every 2 to 5 days. But this can only happen if you are in synchronization with your environment. So you could, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, heal your gut in a very short space of time. But it's just those elements of balance, namely light and dark, that have to be set up correctly, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Very, very important. And none of the gut experts really talk to you about this. And there are studies on this. There are things where they've looked at how light can impact the gut, how meal timing impacts your gut, right? All of these things. And that is obviously connected to the day and night cycles. So, for example, research has shown that disturbances to our circadian rhythms, such as those induced by jet lag, can exacerbate inflammatory bowel diseases. So what the study is basically highlighting is that there's this intimate connection between gut health and our internal timekeeping mechanisms, right? Because obviously, when you've traveled, you've gone maybe from different time zones, maybe you've missed night completely, or you've just kind of arrived and you've left at night and suddenly it's daytime. You know how you get messed up when you travel, right? And that can impact your gut because your body is not getting the signals that it needs to understand what time of day it is and what season it is and all that kind of information, right? Because that impacts every single organ. It impacts your gut. And alhamdulillah, I have personally witnessed firsthand with my own clients who have been able to heal their guts without taking supplements, without taking herbs, without doing any kind of cleanses. They've been slowly able to reintroduce things like eggs and dairy back into their diets when they couldn't tolerate them. They've experienced less bloating. They've had better bowel movement. So these are all indications that the gut is healing, right? So it's 100% achievable. And that is just in a matter of months. Okay, this doesn't have to take years and years and years, a matter of months. So another thing for us to understand is that the gut health, the health of your gut is connected to your nervous system. So what does that mean, right? It means that you can actually improve your gut health by tuning into the responses of your nervous health system. Why is that important? Well, you don't actually see the world through your eyes. You actually see it through the state of your nervous system, okay? It's like if you are in a really stressed state, if you always think like, yeah, you know what, nothing ever works out for me, that is what you tend to see. That is what you tend to notice, right? And even like, you know, when notice yourself, like when you're calm, you know, how does it feel? How do you tend to view the world? Because a calm nervous system is going to create clarity for you. A stressed nervous system creates chaos. When your nervous system is regulated, it increases your brain's ability to process information. A dysregulated one distorts reality through the stress responses. So even if that stress or the threat of it is real or perceived, it's going to affect your ability to digest food. Food that isn't digested well causes us gut issues, right? Because you have to understand that if your body's nervous system is wired up and fired up, right? That is the only thing it's going to be focusing on. And if it is in that state, it's usually in a fight, flight, or freeze state, right? So something has put your body on high alert, whether that is, you know, a traffic jam, whether that is, you know, an argument with someone, whether that is, you know, just, you know, that ill feeling you may have of how a colleague makes you feel at work, whatever it is. But now your body's in survival mode. It's an emergency mode. And it can't stay there for long. It can't stay there and also have you in a rest and repair mode. Okay, because its focus now is survival, so it won't digest well. That system is going to be shut down. This affects the healing and the health of many people's guts. So how can we now get our nervous system in tune with us? Because this is a simple, practical way that you can start implementing from today, because this is what I want you to take away from these sessions. I don't want you to just come here, get some information and get on with your day. I want you to come here and actually take something away and start implementing it in your life. So this is what you can do from today to just really start calming your system down so that when it does have to deal with gut things, right, it's able to do it efficiently. So one way that you can actually do this is actually to start becoming mindful before you eat, right? So what does that look like? This looks like pausing before you start, right? Once we have our food in front of us, many of us just want to dive straight in, right? But just pause for a moment. Take a moment to actually appreciate what's in front of you. Have a sense of feeling thankful. Remember to say Bismillah. Take a few deep breaths to calm the system and then eat. Because have you actually noticed how you feel, how that food feels when you rush and eat? When you're like, oh my God, I've only got 15 minutes and I need to quickly finish this, right? Having a hectic, stressful day and then just coming to eat without calming the system first will result in suboptimal digestion. If you're going to be doing that for weeks and months on end, you're going to be looking at some unpleasant gut issues. And like by and large, the way our modern lifestyles are today and the way that they're set up, we're usually quite stressed. And if you've got kids, family, this kind of thing, right, you are usually in some kind of unpleasant, stressful mode, right? Not all the time, but it happens, right? And so it's really important, especially when it comes to things like meal times, that you calm your system down. You be ready to take in, the blessings that you have in front of you, the nutrition that is coming into your body. You want to be able to receive it well. Being mindful whilst you eat also means slowing down, actually taking time to chew your food properly, putting the spoon or the fork down in between bites. Because a study that looked at increasing chewing, just chewing, it induced the release of certain gut hormones that the participants who were in the study found that they were more satisfied after the meals, that they could do well with just a smaller portion, right? Not because they wanted to, but not because they felt they had to, sorry, but they just felt more satisfied, right? So this is the thing, it's just slowing down, taking a bit of time with your food, not rushing, calming that nervous system, and it's going to impact your gut health, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So those are my tips for today, inshallah, in terms of how you can actually heal your gut without having to worry about, because look, all of these things like cleanses, probiotics, prebiotics, all this stuff, right? It has a place, right? But let's utilize these free tools. And then when it comes to a need for us to have these things, then by all means, work with the practitioner and utilize them. Our body does have everything that it needs to do the job that it's designed for. We just need to give it the environment. And that's why my focus on my program is always about the internal environment and about bringing that back to balance. So I hope that you've learned today some practical ways that you can actually heal your gut without worrying about food.
Use this side, and I didn't know. If I looked at this side, say for why I will never do that.
Sorry, Ukhti, there's somebody's mic open. I thought you was asking a question. Oh, it's gone again. Okay. So Jazakallah khair for all of you that have turned up here live. I hope it's of benefit. We want to try to keep these sessions short and sweet for you guys. And inshallah, I will speak to you again in a couple of weeks, bi'idhnillah.